Triad. This is PART 365. Myself Srija. So today in this session you are going to learn about the physiology of eye and adnexa. So here there is a neural pathway of vision. So what is neural pathway of vision? So vision is basically the journey of light, right? It's an electrical signal which leads to brain interpretation. So let's break the process into simple steps. The first step is photoreceptors, which includes rods and cones, which is a part of retina. We have already discussed about the photoreceptors, about the rods and cones in the earlier session. So these are the first structures which helps to detect the light. So these photoreceptors, they convert the light into electrical signals. So whereas rods help in dim light, whereas cones help in detecting the bright light plus color. And then coming to bipolar cells. So this photoreceptor sends signals to bipolar cells. So these bipolar cells, they act as a middle messengers, and then bipolar cells, they passes the signals to ganglion cells. So these ganglion cells, these are the first output neurons of the retina. And then all ganglion cell axons bundle together to form the optic nerve, the seventh cranial nerve. So this is a main cable carrying visual information to the brain. And then at the optic chiasm. So optic chiasm, it's a cross, it's a fiber cross, right? So at this optic chiasm, the nasal retinal fibers, they cross to the opposite side, whereas temporal retinal fibers, they stay on the same side. So what is the purpose of this optic chiasm? It combines the information from both the eyes to form the binocular vision. Nothing but 3D perception. So next, optic tract. So after the optic chiasm, the fibers continue as the optic tract. So each optic tract carries information from the opposite visual field. For example, if there is a left optic tract, it carries the information from the right visual field of both the eyes. So then lateral geniculate nucleus of the thalamus. So LGN, it is a relay center for the vision. So this organizes signals for shape, color, and also the movement. So this sends the signals to the visual cortex through the optic radiation. And then after the optic radiations, the nerve fibers traveling from the LGN, they result in the primary visual cortex, which has two parts. The first part is upper fibers, which is a parietal lobe, which leads to superior retina and inferior visual field. The second part is lower fibers, which is a superior visual field. And then primary visual cortex. So this is where the actual vision is formed. So what are the functions of the primary visual cortex? It interprets shape, color, motion, and depth. So it combines both the eye's inputs, which results in the binocular vision. It also sends the information to higher visual areas for interpretation like face recognition, object identification, and also movement tracking. So this is the flow chart for the neural pathway of the vision. So why the nasal fibers cross? So because crossing allows the left brain to see the right visual field and the right brain to see the left visual field. So this alignment, they ensures the depth perception and also the proper visual interpretation. So what are the functions of the neural pathway? It processes shape, color, motion, and depth. So this combines both the eye's input, which results in the binocular vision, and also it enables the perception of 3D and accurate spatial judgment. And here you can see the picture of the visual pathway. You can find the cones, bipolar neurons, ganglion cells, optic nerve to optic chiasm, optic tract, lateral geniculate nuclei of the thalamus, optic radiations, and the primary visual areas of the occipital lobes. Then what is the physiology of the aqueous humor? So aqueous humor, what is it? It is a clear fluid in the anterior part of the eye. So this is essential for maintaining the intraocular pressure, nourishing the cornea and lens, and removing the metabolic waste. So remember, cornea and lens are avascular, means there is no blood supply within the cornea and lens. So aqueous humor is their blood supply. So the first step is production of the aqueous humor. So aqueous humor, it is produced by the ciliary process, which is a part of a ciliary body. using three mechanisms. So the first one is active secretion. So this is the most important, which covers around 80 to 90%. So it uses the ATP and ion pumps, nothing but sodium potassium pumps, carbonic anhydrase. So this actively moves ions, which results to water follows. And then ultrafiltration. This is a pressure-driven movement of plasma-like fluid from capillaries into the posterior chamber. And then diffusion. It is a passive movement of small molecules. It is produced in the posterior chamber, which is a space between the iris and lens. And then the second step is a circulation pathway, which is a flow route. So circulation pathway, it is very important for exams and also for glaucoma understanding. So what is the flow sequence? Posterior chamber. So this is produced in posterior chamber, then it passes through the pupil, then it enters into the anterior chamber, and then it drains via the trabecular meshwork and into Skene's canal, and then finally it reaches the episcleral veins. So this keeps the intraocular pressure stable by maintaining a balance between the production and drainage. So what are the functions of the aqueous humor? It maintains the intraocular pressure. The normal intraocular pressure is 10 to 21 millimeters Hg. So it maintains the shape of the eyeball. It also prevents the collapse of the chambers. So it provides the nutrients, like it supplies the glucose, amino acids, oxygen to cornea and lens. So because of these structures do not have the blood vessels. So this aqueous humor, it also removes the metabolic waste. It removes the lactic acid, carbon dioxide and also other waste from cornea and lens. So this also maintains the eye shape. It results in the hydrostatic pressure which supports the eyeball structure. So these are the functions of the aqueous humor. So next is physiology of the vitreous humor. So vitreous humor, it is a transparent gel that fills the vitreous chamber, which lies behind the lens and in the front of the retina. So what are the functions? The first function is transparent gel filling the posterior chamber. So it is the vitreous humor. It is a 99% of water, but it is thickened by collagen and also hyaluronic acid. So this helps to light pass smoothly to the retina. So this also maintains the shape of the eye. It acts like an internal support structure and also it prevents the eyeball from the collapsing. So what does this vitreous humor do? It also keeps the retina pressed against the choroid. Retina, they must stay attached to the choroid for proper nutrient supply. So this vitreous humor, it gently pushes the retina back, keeping it in place. So if vitreous volume shrinks, what happens? The retina may detach. It suddenly flashes, floaters, or it results in curtain-like vision. So this vitreous humor, it also provides the pathway for metabolites, like it supplies the nutrients to adjacent structures. It also removes the waste products and then it absorbs the shock. So words like a shock absorber to protect the retina from injury during a head and eye movement. So these are the functions of vitreous humor. Then coming to the functions of retina, we already discussed earlier, the retina is the light sensitive layer at the back of the eye. What's the job of retina? To detect the light, convert it into electrical signals, to send the signals to the optic nerve through the brain. So what is the first function? Adaptation. So the retina adjusts to different levels of the light. There is two types. First one is dark adaptation. So this is the process by which the eye becomes more sensitive when moving from bright light to darkness. So what happens in the dark adaptation? Visual sensitivity increases in the darkness. So the rods become more active because they work better in the dim light. The cones play a smaller role. And then the rhodopsin regenerates. Rhodopsin, I already said, it is a visual pigment which is present in rods. So this rhodopsin, it is bleached by the bright light. So in darkness, rhodopsin is resynthesized, increasing the red sensitivity. So this is why, because you cannot see immediately whenever entering a dark room. But after 20 to 30 minutes, your vision improves greatly. So this is because of the dark adaptation of the retina. Next, light adaptation. So light adaptation, It happens whenever the eye moves from darkness through bright light. So what happens in the light adaptation? The rhodopsin breaks down. So in the bright light, the rhodopsin, which is a visual pigment present in the rods, they become bleached. So rod becomes less sensitive and then sensitivity decreases in the bright light. So rods shut down, which leads to cones takeover. So these cones function best in bright light. So visual clarity improves. So what is the purpose of the light adaptation? To prevent the overstimulation of the retina and also helps the eye to adjust quickly to the bright conditions. Then the other function of the retina is visual acuity. So visual acuity is nothing but is the sharpness of the vision, like how clearly you can see the details. So what are the factors influencing the visual acuity? Cone concentration, pupil diameter, optical quality of the cornea or lens, and eye movements. So what is cone concentration? This is highestly seen in the fovea. So fovea has only cones, which results in the highest resolution. So cones provide fine detail, color, and also the clarity. Next is pupil diameter. So if there is a small pupil, it results in a sharper image. If there is a large pupil, you can see a more light but lower sharpness. Next, coming to optical quality of the cornea or lens. So if cornea or lens shape is abnormal, it results in the refractive errors like myopia, hyperpia, astigmatism, clearly, correctly curved surfaces which results in the better focus. And the last one is eye movements. So tiny involuntary movements, they prevent the visual fading. So control movements helps to track the objects and also maintain the clarity. So this is about the dark adaptation and the light adaptation. So next is physiology of the color vision. So color vision is controlled by the cones because they are meant to absorb the bright light and the colors. Rods, it's a dark light, right? So there are three types of cones. So each cone type has a pigment sensitive to a specific wavelength range. So what are the cone? Red sensitive cone. So this has a long wavelength, which is a L cone. Green sensitive cone, which is a medium wavelength, which is a M cone. And blue sensitive cone, these are sensitive to a short wavelength, which is a S cone. So how color vision works over here? So colors are recognized by comparing the stimulation of all three cone types. So brain interprets the ratio of the activation. For example, if there is a red light, you can see more L cone activation. If there is a green light, you can see more M cone activation. If there is a blue light, you can see more S cone activation and also mixed activation. You can see thousands of colors. So this is how a type of cone play the role. So what is the mechanism of the color vision? So color perception, it depends on how strongly each cone type like red, green, blue is stimulated. So how does it work? So whenever a light enters the eye, it comes to observe the different wavelengths. Okay. So each cone type, they respond differently. Like red L cone, it responds to long wavelength, whereas green cone, it responds to medium wavelength, whereas blue cone to short wavelength. So brain compares the proportion of the activation among the three cone types. So this ratio, they interpret it as the color. Now, how does the color vision defects? Like color blindness. So color blindness, it all occurs when a type of cone is absent or defective. For example, here you can see the protanopia. It is a red blindness. So this is a red cone defect. It cannot distinguish with the red tones. So red appears like dark or brownish. Whereas deuteranopia, it is a green cone defect. So this is the most common type. So difficulty distinguishing between the red versus green. Whereas tritonopia, it results in the blue blindness, which is a blue cone defect. This is a rare form where problems distinguishing between the blue versus yellow arises. So next is physiology of the eye movements. So eye movements are controlled by these 6 extraocular muscles. So what are the 6 extraocular muscles? 4 are rectus muscles and 2 are oblique muscles. So these are controlled by the 6 muscles to position the eye accurately. So what are the types of eye movements are present? So the first type of eye movement is saccades. So what are saccades? These are the very fast, jerky, jumping movements. So where they are used? They are used in reading, scanning a room, shifting focus quickly. And the second movement is smooth pursuit. So this is a slow, steady tracking of a moving object. So what is the example? Smooth pursuit, it is a following a flying bird or a moving car. Whereas vergence, it is a convergence for near vision. So eye moves towards each other for near objects or away for the distant objects. So this is important for near vision and also for the depth perception. And next is vestibulo-ocular reflex. So this stabilizes the images on the retina during the head movement. Okay. So whenever, for example, whenever you turn your head right, so eyes move left to keep vision stable. So this prevents this vestibulo-ocular reflex movement. It prevents blurring during the motion. So what are the control centers of the eye? What are the control centers of the eye movements? So brainstem nuclei, cerebellum, cerebral cortex. So what is brainstem nuclei? Cranial nerve 3, 4 and 6. So cranial nerve 3, it's an oculomotor nerve. This is mainly most of the muscles. Whereas fourth cranial nerve, also called as trochlear nerve, superior oblique muscle, and sixth cranial nerve, which is the abducens nerve, which is the lateral rectus muscle. So these are responsible for the automatic and reflexive movements. So coming to cerebellum, it coordinates the smoothness and also accuracy of the eye movement. So the cerebellum, it is important for the smooth pursuit plus VOR. And then cerebral cortex. So the cerebral cortex, it controls the voluntary eye movements. So for example, deciding to look left, look up, or also look side, or look or read. So these are the control centers of the eye movement. Next, physiology of the tears is also called as lacrimation. So tears are essential for protecting, nourishing and also maintaining the health of the eye surface. So how tear is produced? So where are tears produced first? Tears are produced by the lacrimal gland, which is the main source, and also some of the axillary glands called as crus or Wolfram. So together they form the tear film that coats the cornea. So what are the tear film layers, which is a three-layer structure? A lipid layer, aqueous layer and mucin layer. So lipid layer, which is produced by meibomian glands. So what is the function? It prevents the evaporation of the aqueous layer. So it helps to provide a smooth optical surface. Whereas aqueous layer, it is produced by the lacrimal gland. So what are the contents of the lacrimal gland? Water, nutrients, enzymes and also the antibodies. So nutrients like glucose, enzymes like lysozyme and antibodies especially like IgA. So what is the function? It nourishes the cornea and flushes out the debris. So the last layer is mucin layer. It is produced by the goblet cells. So goblet cells are produced in the conjunctiva. So what is the function of mucin? It helps to tears spread evenly across the eye surface. It also allows the tears to adhere to the cornea. So what are the functions of the tears? Lubrication, antibacterial protection to maintain the corneal transparency and wash away debris. So lubrication, it prevents the friction between eyelids and eyeball during the blinking. So antibacterial protection, tears contain lysozyme which breaks down the bacterial cell walls and also contain the secretory IgA, nothing but the antibody A which prevents the infections. So this helps to protect the eye from the pathogens and to maintain corneal transparency. So these tears, they keep the cornea moist and also smooth. So this is essential for the clear vision. It also wash away debris. So dust, small particles and irritants are flushed out with the tear flow. So next is tear drainage. So tears can drain through puncta, the tiny openings in the eyelids, and then to canaliculi, and then to lacrimal sac, then to nasolacrimal duct, and then to nasal cavity. So this is why the nose runs whenever you cry. So next is maintenance of intraocular pressure. So what is intraocular pressure? It's a pressure inside the eye mainly maintained by the aqueous humor. So why is intraocular pressure is important? Because it keeps the shape of the eye, it maintains the proper optics, and it ensures the normal nutrient flow. So how does the balance of IOP depends on? It depends upon the aqueous humor production and the aqueous humor outflow. So in aqueous humor production, this is produced by the ciliary process. It enters the posterior chamber which flows to the anterior chamber. Whereas in aqueous humor outflow, it occurs via two pathways. So one is trabecular pathway, which is the primary one, which is responsible for 90% of the drainage, and the secondary pathway, which accounts for 10% of the drainage. And then the normal intraocular pressure range. It is 10 to 21 mmHg. So this is the healthy pressure required for the normal eye function. So what happens if IOP increases? It results in the risk of glaucoma. So high IOP can damage the optic nerve, it can cause the peripheral vision loss, and it can lead to the irreversible blindness if untreated. So what is the protective physiology of the eye? So eye has the natural defense mechanisms to protect itself from injury, dryness, and also the infection, like blinking. So coming to blinking, blinking occurs involuntary, right? Every day we do blink every minute, every second. It's an involuntary action every few seconds. And what does this blinking help? It helps to lubricate the cornea. So it spreads the tear film evenly over the cornea. It removes the debris, whereas the dust particles and irritants are swept away. It also spreads tear film. So it distributes the lipid, aqueous and mucin layers for the smooth clear vision and protection from the dryness. So blinking also protects the eye from bright light by the reflex closure. Whereas coming to eyelids, so these eyelids, they serve as both the mechanical protection and also these eyelids, they act as the barrier against the injury. So coming to mechanical protection, eyelids, they shield the eyes from injury. They also close reflexively when something approaches. So it also acts as a barrier, right? So what does it do? It prevents the Fourier particles from entering. It also reduces the evaporation of tear film. It also helps to maintain the corneal hydration. So this is how the eyelids act as a protective layer. And then conjunctiva. So conjunctiva, it contains the lymphoid tissue which provides the immune protection. So this defends against the microorganisms, dust and as well as the allergens. So this helps in production of mucus to keep the eye moist. So how does it protect the eye? It acts as the first line of defense. It produces the IgA antibody and also it contains the immune cells like lymphocytes and macrophages. And the last one is pupillary light reflex. So what is it? A reflex action in which the pupil constrict. So whenever exposed to bright light. So this is the pupillary light reflex. So what is the purpose of this? To protect the retina from damage by reducing the amount of light entering the eye. So how the reflex works? When the bright light enters the eye, the photoreceptors in the retina detect the light. Then the signal travels through the optic nerve to the midbrain, and the midbrain activates the oculomotor nerve, the third cranial nerve, and then at last the pupil constrict, which results in the pupillary light reflex. So this is how the pupillary light reflex works as the part of the eye. So this is for today's session. I hope this session has helped you. So in the next session, you will be able to learn about the ICD-10-CM coding guidelines for the diseases of the eye and adnexa. Thank you.